Hello and welcome to Building Local Power, a podcast about how we can challenge corporate monopolies and expand the power of people to shape their own future. In this miniseries, we're taking a look back at our archive and sharing highlights from some of our most insightful conversations. Today, we return to an episode called Zephyr Teachout on Building an Antimonopoly Movement, which features Zephyr Teachout, the author of Break 'em Up, Recovering Our Freedom from Big Ag, Big Tech, and Big Money, as well as ILSR's Stacy Mitchell. It aired September 3rd, 2020.
We have a real democratic problem with concentrated power. And it's a pretty frontal assault on self-government. There's two main ways in which these big corporate entities, these big institutions, are threatening government. One is by corrupting government through campaign finance, funding think tanks, funding some of the fanciest universities in the country. The more insidious form of these big corporations taking over democracy is they are governing themselves. They're directly governing us. They are regulating, taxing, directing us, controlling how we live. One of the oldest tools for wiping out Black power in the South was merging political districts. So if you had three political districts, in one political district, a majority Black electorate, and two others, about 60% white electorate, old tool of the Old South is merge them and then elect district-wide representative, either at the state or congressional level. And that representative is going to be white because the merger has wiped out the local Black power. So then you apply that merger doctrine in the context of just businesses, that merging, it has a major bleaching effect. If you merge together, as we have allowed happen in this country, so many of the funeral homes around the country, you end up with a big white-owned, white-financed SCI instead of an important locus of Black political power, which is in the funeral home industry.
Recovering the history is such an essential part of figuring out how we got here and how much racial oppression economically and monopoly power are like intertwined, and that if we want to unravel one, we've got to unravel the other, and we can't succeed if we're only pulling on one of those threads.
I also think it's important to point to other moments in history where there's been a deep connection between civil rights and abolitionism, both, and anti-monopoly, to show that some other people have seen that connection. Like this really powerful movement in the mid-late 19th century that very much saw white power as illegitimate power and corporate power as illegitimate. And the railroads were engines of both. Engines of segregation and engines of oppressing others. Phil Hart was one of the authors of the civil rights legislation and is best known for his leadership in civil rights in this country. His two passions were civil rights and anti-monopoly. He understood that both segregation and concentrated corporate power were the two big challenges we had to a self-governing society.
Zephyr Teachout is now running for New York Attorney General, and here at ILSR, we're continuing to examine how monopoly power is intertwined with racial oppression. If you liked what you heard today, find Building Local Power on your favorite podcast platform, and listen to our full episode called Zephyr Teachout on Building an Anti-Monopoly Movement.